Hey guys, so my exams are over now, yay, and I've got about 4 days until summer school starts. So I thought today I would dedicate a few hours that I have free to just doing some reading because that's what I'm in the mood for, and I thought I might as well vlog it for you guys again as well. I really enjoyed doing that last month. This vlog will probably be a lot shorter just because I'm only doing it for a few hours, not a couple days, but I hope you guys enjoy it anyway. Today I've kind of started, I've read like a page reading In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, or whatever his last name is, but I'm kind of not in the mood for this one. So I think what I'm going to do instead, just because it would be fun, is pick up Unexplained New Zealand. This is the book that you guys might have seen in my library book haul, which I will link down below in case you haven't seen it, but this one drew my attention because of the giant sticker saying don't write in this book, because someone has written in pen annotations throughout the entire book, and I'm really curious to see not only what this book is about, because it's about like ghosts and UFOs and things like that that have been sighted in New Zealand, but I'm curious to see what the person who wrote the annotations has to say as well. I'm gonna grab myself like a cup of tea or something, and then I'm gonna get into this book and I will talk to you guys about it as we go. Yes, it is November. So, it appears that the annotations in the book have been twinked out by the library. So some of them are impossible to read, but I just found one that the twink's kind of like not doing the greatest job of covering it up, so I can still read what this person wrote. And as it turns out, rather than being a crazy, conspiracy theorist or someone who has their own like stories to add to this book or something, which is what I thought the person writing the annotations would be, it turns out that our little annotations writer is a skeptic, which is very surprising to me. So someone got this book out of the library to take their time to write their skeptical thoughts within it. So there's this picture, which, to be fair, that picture does not look like anything to me. It's supposed to be a picture showing an apparition with a severed head. I don't know what you guys can see there, but I cannot see a person with a severed head. But our annotations writer has written could be anything with an exclamation point, and I have to say I agree with this skeptic right now, and I think that's a fair comment to make. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if our skeptic is convinced by the end of this book. I don't think they will be, but we will see. Okay, so I'm up to a little section in this book on the King Seat, I think it's called King Seat mental institution, which is in Karaka in Auckland or south of Auckland. It's a ex-mental hospital or asylum that's now been turned into Spookers, which is like a haunted house attraction type thing, which is actually really fun. I've been to it once. I think once. And it's a really good time. They have like a haunted house and they do a haunted corn maze if you go on the right season. I haven't done that before. I really want to, but I've always just gone in like the wrong season for the corn maze. But when they don't have the corn maze operating, they do like a haunted forest. Like if you guys in school, like school camps or whatever, ever did like a Burma trail, it's pretty much like that, where you like follow a rope through the forest and there are scary things to scare you. But it is super creepy because it did used to be a mental institution in like from the early 1900s up until the 80s, I think. And my great-grandmother was actually one of the patients there, obviously before I was born, but I found another annotation that I've managed to decipher despite the twink. If you see me in any of the clips of me reading, by the way, like pulling weird faces and like looking at the pages real closely, it's me trying to read through the twink. Because if you get it in like the right light, you can read through it. So this one is a picture that is supposed to be the ghost of a nurse who is one of the ghosts like commonly seen in that area. The annotated comment says could be anything, which again, probably correct. It really could be anything. Could Stephen have bumped into the ghost of the mystery construction worker? And the person writing the annotations has just put no next to that. Now, talking about whether they found some like bones in a baker's oven, which is really creepy. Like, it just makes me think of Hansel and Gretel and like the witch baking children in her oven. There's a question as to whether it was like human remains, and our annotation says wrong, they were sheep bones. So I would love to know how this person like knows all of these things. Like, is this something that they've researched themselves, or are they just making an educated guess like it's probably just sheep bones? So I've made it to the end of part 1 of the book. I am about to start part 2, which is on UFOs, which will be interesting. Part 1, most of those like hauntings and things that were discussed were ones that are quite well known, like the kind of like urban legends that you've heard about over the years, like different hotels and tourist locations and things like that that are rumored to be haunted. So it was interesting, but nothing particularly like surprising. One interesting thing that I did learn though was that there's a team of like Ghostbuster type people in Christchurch that investigate paranormal activity, which I think is really, really funny. So I just came across an interesting alien related story in that book about the Kaikoura lights, which is something that occurred in New Zealand that I hadn't heard about before, which is kind of surprising. But apparently there were, on a number of different occasions, planes pilot would report seeing like strange lights outside when flying at night. And the funny thing is with this, that not only did the pilot see it, there were people on the ground, like regular people who had reported seeing these lights around the plane as well. And also air traffic control, these lights, whatever they were, would show up on the radar for air traffic as well, which is really, really interesting. So there's this one section in this book on the mysterious like black panther that is supposed to exist in the South Island. Basically, in case you guys didn't know, we don't have big cats in New Zealand. Any of our native like wildlife tends to be like birds. It's probably about it. So yeah, panthers are not a thing. And apparently a lot of people in the South Island have sighted this panther, which is rumoured to exist there. And it just kind of creeps me out because this one time I had a nightmare that a panther broke into a house that I was living in with my dad in this dream. And I escaped because my dad was like, oh, I'll handle it, it's fine, you just go, like it's all good, I'll be fine. And then my dream progressed as dreams do, and it ended up being like a few days later, and it clicked that I hadn't heard from my dad since I left him with the panther. So I sent him a text being like, hey, I just remembered that I left you with the panther, are you okay? And the text I got back from him was a smiley face emoji, which in the dream, it made perfect sense to me that the panther had eaten my dad and stolen his phone and wanted to pretend like my dad was still alive. So like he didn't know how to do like English text language, so he was like, what do I send back? He just sent me the smiley face emoji, like hoping that would convince me that my dad was fine. As soon as I read the text, the emoji, I knew that it was the panther. I knew it. He was like a sly little creepy crazy creature. And there's a little description in here of someone who believes that the panther exists. And it says, somewhere around Omoe, south of Invercargill, heading towards Bluff, there is a very big cat. The animal is large enough to be dangerous to people. It is extremely intelligent and extremely secretive. And that just sounds exactly like the panther that I dreamed about that one time. So, you know. There's a creature I've never heard of that supposedly exists called waitoreke. And apparently it's a little furry kind of animal that looks kind of like an otter and lives in water, and that's where people have seen it, and that's very interesting to me. Again, we don't have otters or anything like that in New Zealand as far as we know. Maybe we do, and that's what the waitoreke is, but it's interesting because our annotator, this is the first time our annotator has written something to support the claims in this book as opposed to being skeptical about them. Our annotator says, my great aunt saw it at Clifton in the 1950s. which is interesting. Okay, there's also the story in here about the colossal squid that was found in New Zealand in, I think, 2007. It's an interesting one to include in this book because it is an actual creature that exists. They're just basically a really giant squid. This particular one weighed nearly 500 kilograms, stored at the Te Papa Museum in Wellington, and I have seen this giant colossal squid in the museum there. It was hauled aboard a fishing trawler, and they decided that in the name of science they should kill it and give it to the museum, which is questionable and seems unnecessarily cruel to me. This giant squid, just minding its own business, gets caught by a fishing trawler and just killed because science. So I wouldn't say it's an unexplained mystery. I think it's quite well explained actually, but it is still interesting. Okay, I'm all finished with this book now. That was a good few hours well spent. It was interesting. I think the parts that intrigued me the most were the UFO stuff. I don't know why, I'm just really into Doctor Who at the moment. I am trying to catch up on all the seasons because I used to watch Doctor Who and I would watch it as soon as they were coming out up until the first Matt Smith season, and then I kind of just stopped watching it, and then I got too far behind, and then every time I wanted to catch up I wanted to start from the beginning and rewatch to catch up. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and I'm up to season 3 at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. I freaking love Doctor Who, so I think the UFO stuff is just especially appealing currently. Super interesting. Most of the stuff I, like our annotator, am quite skeptical about. I really enjoyed reading those annotations though, even though they're twinked out, and I do not encourage writing in library books. Like the sticker says, library books are not meant to be written in, and I can see why reading annotated books, that your friends or whoever have written in, could be really fun. Obviously don't do it in library books, but this was an interesting experience anyway. Today's music, by the way, is brought to you by one of my favorite bands. They are a New Zealand band called The Latest Fallout, and that track that I used in today's vlog, it's super upbeat. It's one of my favorite all-time songs ever. It's called Downfall, and I will link to The Latest Fallout's Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all of that stuff in the information bar down below, so you can check them out if you want. There's a song that they had come out recently-ish called Blue Neon, which they did a really awesome music video for, and that song has kind of a different sound to it, so I'd recommend checking that out as well. I really like that one too. And rumor has it that they have another music video coming out today, so make sure you go check them out if you're interested, because I'm super excited to see what that music video is. And I would really like to throw out a huge thank you to Brendan from that band for letting me use their song, because I think it's awesome, and I'm so stoked that I got to share it with you guys, because I really like sharing music with people. And I think that in future, when I do vlogs like this and I try and find music to use in them, because there's not many occasions where I make a video that I need music for it, but when I do, I would really like to put in music that I actually like myself. If you make music and you would be willing to let me use it in a vlog like this, just to get your music out there a little bit more, I would love that. So if you are someone who can point me in the right direction to musicians, or as someone who makes music yourself and you'd like to share that with me and the people who watch these vlogs, let me know that in the comments down below, or you can always send me an email or a message here on YouTube or on Twitter, any social media, that kind of thing. My email address and all contact information is always linked in the information bar below, because I would just love to explore other music that I could use in these vlogs, because I really like doing them. I like reading and just being able to share my thoughts with you guys instantly. I think it's fun. So that's it for this vlog. I'll see you guys with another video in a couple days. Bye.